Good morning, students. In the video number 7 of this chapter, solutions, we have completed fourth colligative property, that is osmotic pressure. The terms we have studied in osmotic pressure are semi-permeable membrane, then osmosis, osmotic pressure. The three type of solutions: isotonic, hypertonic and hypotonic solutions on the basis of their osmotic pressure. Determination of molar mass of non-volatile non-electrolyte solute using osmotic pressure. And finally we have studied reverse osmosis and the use of reverse osmosis in purification of water. And now the next point over here is the colligative properties of electrolytes. It is the colligative properties of electrolytes. We know the difference between electrolytes and non-electrolytes. Electrolytes are the substances like sodium chloride, which whenever added to the water, they undergo complete dissociation. Whenever dissolved in water, they undergo complete dissociation. They are the electrolytes. Some of the electrolytes are the substances which whenever added to the water undergo incomplete dissociation. Not completely. They undergo partial dissociation on dissolution. They are weak electrolytes. And some of the substances like sugar are there, urea, sucrose, glucose, fructose. Whenever they are added to the water, they undergo dissolution but no dissociation at all. Only dissolution takes place, but they remain there in their original molecular formula. They are not undergoing dissociation. They are known as non-electrolytes. So basically, non-electrolytes will not undergo dissociation, whereas electrolytes undergo dissociation, maybe completely or partially. Whenever the electrolyte undergo complete dissociation, it is known as a strong electrolyte. The electrolytes which are undergoing complete dissociation are known as strong electrolytes, and the electrolytes which will undergo incomplete dissociation or partial dissociation are known as weak electrolytes. Now in this point over here, we have to study the colligative properties of electrolytes. Up to this level, the colligative properties we have studied for the non-electrolytes. Whatever the colligative properties we have studied, there is the study of non-electrolyte we have completed. Because we know that colligative properties are the properties of aqueous solution in which solvent usually is water. They are the properties of non-volatile non-electrolyte solute added to the water. They are the properties of very dilute solution having concentration less than 0.2 molar, and they are the properties which are depending on the number of solute particle but not on size or nature of the solute particle. They are depending only on the number of solute particle. And finally we have seen that the main use of colligative properties is to determine the molar mass of non-volatile non-electrolyte solute. So basically colligative properties are the properties of non-electrolyte solute. But here we are studying the colligative properties of electrolytes. See over here, whatever the colligative properties we have studied, they are for non-electrolytes, and the properties of non-electrolytes are used for calculation of molar mass of solute. So whenever molar mass of solute, that is M2, is calculated using colligative property, and the molar mass of solute, here we have calculated using the colligative property. whenever the molar mass of solute, that is M2, calculated from molecular formula, they are same. Whenever the molar mass of solute is calculated from its molecular formula, because we know molar mass is additive property. So if we take the example of this compound C6H12O6, how to calculate its molar mass? It is containing 6 carbon, so 12 into 6, 70. 12 6 are 70. Hydrogen 12, 1 into 12, so it is equal to 12. Oxygen 6, so it is 16 into 6, it is equal to 96. Do the summation. 6 for 10, 1 is carried, 10 80, 180. So molar mass of this compound glucose, it is equal to 180. How it is done? How it is calculated? It is calculated by doing the addition of atomic masses. Therefore, molar mass is known as additive property. It is the additive property. If we calculate the molar mass of glucose by this method, it comes equal to 180. If we calculate the molar mass of same compound C6H12O6 glucose by the use of colligative property, at that time also the molar mass comes equal to 180. Therefore, it is well known that colligative properties are the properties of non-volatile, non-electrolyte solute, and the molar mass determined from colligative properties of non-electrolyte is same as that of the molar mass obtained by taking the addition of atomic masses. The molar mass by these two methods is same. But if we take the example of now electrolyte, we have to study the electrolytes colligative properties over here. Colligative properties of electrolytes. We know electrolytes may also show the colligative properties, but there are some important points over here. For electrolytes, it is observed that the magnitude of colligative property is not same as that of non-electrolytes. The behavior relation of colligative property for electrolytes is not same as that of the non-electrolytes. Electrolytes will show different colligative properties, non-electrolytes show the different colligative properties. Relations are different. Secondly, if we study the colligative properties of electrolytes, it is observed that the magnitude of colligative property is greater than that of the magnitude of colligative property of non-electrolyte. If we see the magnitude of colligative property of electrolyte, this magnitude is greater than the magnitude of colligative property of non-electrolyte. That is the difference. Colligative property of electrolyte has a greater magnitude as compared with the magnitude of non-electrolyte of the same concentration. Even though their concentrations are same, if this is 0.2 molar, this is also 0.2 molar, concentrations are same, but for electrolyte the magnitude of colligative property is greater as compared with the magnitude of colligative property of non-electrolyte of the same concentration. Even though concentration is same, the magnitude of colligative property in electrolyte is greater as compared with the magnitude of non-electrolyte colligative property. And third one, important one, third, here is the molar mass. Just now I have told you over here, if the molar mass of non-electrolyte is studied from colligative property and its calculated molecular formula, this molecular formula if it is calculated, the molar masses are same for non-electrolyte. But if we take the case of electrolyte, the molar mass of electrolyte is less. Molar mass of electrolyte is less than that of the calculated. For example, if we see the case of electrolyte like NaCl, sodium chloride, what is its molar mass? 23 sodium and chlorine 35.5. So it comes equal to 58.5. This is known as a calculated molar mass, additive molar mass by the addition of atomic masses. This is 58.5. If we study the molar mass from colligative properties, it should be equal to 58.5, but always it is less. It is less than 58.5. Whenever colligative properties are used and the molar mass of this is calculated, electrolyte is calculated, it is observed that the molar mass is less than 58.5, but calculated by addition is 58.5. So this is the difference. Calculated molar mass of electrolyte is always less. Observed molar mass using colligative properties. Observed molar mass using colligative properties is less as compared with the calculated molar mass by addition of atomic masses. Those are three important points over here. Here we will easily come to know that electrolyte behave in different manner as that of the non-electrolyte whenever the colligative properties of electrolytes are studied. Now, if we take the example of sodium chloride and the other substance of same concentration. Suppose we have sodium chloride, we have C6H12O6 glucose. If we take 0.2 molar this concentration and 0.2 molar glucose concentration, concentrations are same. In both cases, concentrations are same. So NaCl must show the same magnitude as that of the magnitude of colligative property of glucose. But what happens? Since NaCl is electrolyte, it undergo ionization producing Na plus and Cl minus ions, and this remain unionized. So one NaCl gives two particles. One NaCl gives two particles. If the magnitude of colligative property from 0.2 molar non-electrolyte, if it is suppose 1, at that time same concentration NaCl will give the magnitude of colligative property equal to 2. Why? Because colligative properties are depending on number of solute particles but independent of their size. It just depends on the number. So number is double. Instead of this, if we take the compound like this one, CaCl2, having same concentration 0.2 molar, This gives the magnitude. This gives the magnitude 1. How much ions it is forming? Cl plus plus and then Cl minus, again Cl minus. How many particles are there? 3 particles. From 1 calcium chloride there is formation of 3 particles. If it is 1 particle, it gives this concentrated solution gives the magnitude of colligative property 1. 3 particles, so the magnitude will be 3. Here it is 2. If we take the example of AlCl3, aluminium trichloride, AlCl3, concentration is same, 0.2 molar. How many total ions are present? 4 ions are there. 1 aluminium and 3 chlorine. 4 ions are there. Therefore, it gives the magnitude of colligative property is equal to 4. Because colligative properties are the properties which are depending on number of solute particles but independent of their size. Now what happens to the molar mass? Here molar mass is same as that of the calculated. Here molar mass comes to the half as that of the calculated because it is giving 2 ions. Here molar mass will be almost 1/3. Here molar mass will be almost 1/4. So here the molar mass of electrolyte is less than that of the calculated molar mass. Molar mass of electrolyte from observed from the colligative property is always less as compared with the calculated molar mass by addition of atomic masses. Now the next point over here is a Van 't Hoff factor. Now let us see what is the Van 't Hoff factor. It is a Van 't Hoff factor. It has symbol of small I. This is defined as a ratio of colligative property. Ratio of colligative property of electrolyte of given concentration to the colligative property of non-electrolyte of same concentration. See, Van 't Hoff factor I is a ratio of colligative property of electrolyte of given concentration to the colligative property of non-electrolyte of same concentration. It means that if we use the concentration of electrolyte as 0.2 molar NaCl, here also it is 0.2 molar glucose C6H12O6. Concentration of electrolyte and concentration of non-electrolyte is same. But just now I have told you the magnitude of this property expected is exactly same as that of the observed. Since this is non-electrolyte, the colligative property of non-electrolyte, value of colligative property of non-electrolyte is exactly same as that of the expected. Observed and expected are same. But what about electrolyte? This one for electrolyte, what happened here? Colligative property is double because it is giving 2 ions. Colligative property is double. So what is the Van 't Hoff factor in this case? 2 upon 1. It is equal to 2. Magnitude of colligative property of electrolyte will be double as compared with the magnitude of colligative property of non-electrolyte of same concentration. In this case, if we take NaCl, it is double. If we take CaCl2, that will be triple. AlCl3, that will be 4 times. So this ratio depends on the dissociation of electrolyte, that depends on the number of ions produced by that electrolyte after dissociation. So this is the Van't-Hoff factor, and Van't-Hoff factor for the electrolytes which are undergoing dissociation is always greater than 1, always greater than 1, because they possess more number of the ions. But here, since these are the colligative properties of non-electrolyte, observer and theoretical are same, therefore this is also known as theoretical colligative property. Theoretical colligative property, because these are non-electrolyte, and whatever the magnitude of non-electrolyte is there, observed and theoretical expected it is same. So this is also known as theoretical colligative property. Whereas this one is different. For NaCl different, CaCl2 different, AlCl3 is different. Therefore, it is known as observed colligative property. So, if we take 4 different colligative properties and their Van't-Hoff factor is to be studied, for the first colligative property, lowering of vapor pressure, it will be delta T, lowering of vapor pressure divided by delta P theoretical. This is theoretical, delta P0. This will be theoretical. If we take the elevation of boiling point, delta TB divided by delta TB theoretical. These values will never change. These values are always constant. Delta P0, delta TB0 absolute values. If we take delta TF for electrolyte, this is changing depending on the electrolyte. But delta TF for non-electrolyte is always constant. Similarly, osmotic pressure for electrolyte divided by osmotic pressure for non-electrolyte absolute value is constant. These ratios are nothing but the Van't-Hoff factor. Numerators may change depending on the electrolyte, type of electrolyte, but the values of non-electrolyte are theoretical. And we have studied what about molar mass? Molar mass of the electrolyte is less. Molar mass is less than that of the theoretical molar mass. Theoretical molar mass is greater. Therefore, Van't-Hoff factor I for molar mass will be opposite, because colligative property increases. Just now we have studied colligative property for electrolyte increases, but molar mass decreases. Means colligative property and molar mass are inversely proportional to each other. Colligative property increases, but molar mass decreases for the electrolyte. Therefore, colligative property and molar mass are inversely proportional to each other. So, for a molar mass, it is written opposite way. It is the theoretical molar mass divided by observed molar mass. You got it? Why this ratio is opposite? Because the magnitude of colligative property increases in the electrolyte and its molar mass decreases. Therefore, colligative property and molar mass are inversely proportional to each other. We know Van't-Hoff factor I is a observed colligative property upon theoretical colligative property. Therefore, Van't-Hoff factor for molar mass is a ratio of theoretical molar mass upon observed molar mass. And after that, after this Van't-Hoff factor, here we have to study the equation for different colligative properties of electrolyte. See, the equations are very simple. We have studied the Hancock factor. Four polyatomic properties we have studied. Here first one is this delta P upon delta P upon P1 0. This is equal to W2 M1 divided by W1 M2. Just this equation is multiplied by Hancock factor or Hancock factor, so that we will get the relative lowering of vapor pressure or electrolyte. So this is the equation just multiplied by I. This is known as relative lowering of vapor pressure of electrolyte. Second one, delta TB is equal to Kb into m, small m, Kb into m. This way also. By substituting the value of m, what is the equation we are saying? Delta TB is equal to 1000 Kb W2 divided by W1 M2. If this equation is simply multiplied by I, delta TB will be equal to I, that is Hancock factor, multiplied by 1000 Kb W2 divided by W1 M2. This is known as elevation of boiling point of electrolyte, because this equation is multiplied by Hancock factor I. If we study the third polyatomic property, depression of freezing point. For that depression of freezing point, we have studied this equation, delta TF is equal to Kf into m. Therefore, delta TF will be equal to Kf 1000 W2 divided by W1 M2. If this equation is multiplied by I, Hancock factor I, we will get the depression of freezing point of electrolyte. That is by this equation, delta TF is equal to I into 1000 Kf W2 divided by W1 M2. This is known as equation for depression of freezing point of electrolyte. And similarly, for the fourth polyatomic property, that is osmotic pressure, what is the equation we have studied? Pi B or pi will be equal to W2 RT upon 3. W2 RT upon 3. This is the equation we have studied. M2. This is osmotic pressure. If this is multiplied by osmotic pressure, I, Hancock factor pi will be equal to I multiplied by W2 RT divided by M2 into V. This is known as osmotic pressure of electrolyte. So simply the equations of colligative properties of non-electrolyte are multiplied by Hancock factor I, so that we will get the colligative properties of electrolytes. These are the mathematical equations for colligative properties. Now one more equation is there for non-electrolyte, for electrolyte but weak electrolyte. So let us see how that equation is there, how that equation is obtained. If we consider the case of weak electrolyte, they behave differently. Little bit different behavior is there in the weak electrolytes as compared with strong electrolytes. Whatever the discussion we have done over here, that is the discussion for strong electrolytes which are undergoing complete dissociation. But for weak electrolytes undergoing incomplete dissociation, certain degree of dissociation alpha is there. There is the another equation for Van't-Hoff factor and degree of dissociation. So let us see that one more expression over here. Hello students, so let us continue the next part of just video number 8. In video number 8, whatever the part we have studied, at the end we have seen that for strong electrolyte and weak electrolyte there is different behavior. So for weak electrolyte undergoing partial dissociation, what is the relation between Van't-Hoff factor I and degree of dissociation alpha? Because up to this level we have studied the Van't-Hoff factor just for strong electrolytes, but for weak electrolytes which are undergoing incomplete dissociation, how there is a different behavior. Let us see that different behavior. Let us consider the example of weak electrolyte, silver chloride. It is weak electrolyte undergoing incomplete dissociation. Incomplete means reversible. For NaCl, how we are writing? It gives Na plus Cl minus in only one direction. So that is irreversible. But this undergoes incomplete dissociation. Therefore, it is reversible and partial, producing Ag plus and Cl minus ions. Suppose, let us consider we have 10 molecules of AgCl. At start we have taken 10 molecules. So at start Ag plus moles 0, Cl minus ion mole 0. 10 molecules we have taken 0 ions, 0 ions at start. Out of 10, if 2 will undergo dissociation, out of 10, 2 is undergoing dissociation. So 10 minus 2 left behind. This is 8. 8 will left behind. How many ions of Ag plus obtained? 2. How many Cl minus ions are obtained? 2. Because whenever one AgCl dissociates, it produces one Ag plus and one Cl minus. 2 AgCl undergoing dissociation, producing 2 Ag plus and 2 Cl minus ions. Instead of AgCl, if we take the compound like this, CaCl2, which is weak electrolyte, it gives Ca plus 2 Cl minus. If we have 10 molecules at start, this is 0, this is 0. Out of 10, if 2 undergo dissociation, 10 minus 2, 8 left behind. How many Ca plus 2 are obtained? 2. Because 2 are undergoing dissociation. How many Cl minus ions are obtained? 2 into 2, that is equal to 4. 2 into 2 ions of Cl minus ions are obtained. So that is equal to 4. Because 1 CaCl2 gives 2 Cl minus. So 2 CaCl2 is giving 4 Cl minus ions. If we take the case of AlCl3, incomplete dissociation, producing Al plus 3 Cl minus. At start we have 10. This is 0. This is 0. After certain time of interval, if 2 moles dissociated, 10 minus 2, 8 left behind. Here it is obtained 2. Obtained is 3 into 2 is equal to 6. In this manner, we have to consider it for weak electrolyte. Now let us consider we have the weak electrolyte AX By undergoing incomplete dissociation. it is producing how many AX of A? What is the charge of A? You got it? What is the charge of A? Number of second is the charge of first, and number of moles of first is the charge of second. So XA Y plus YB X minus. So here, what we have done here also, charge of first is 3 and moles of second is 3, but charge of second is 1 and moles of first is 1. Means charge of first is the mole of second and charge of second is the mole of first. So same is the case. What is the mole of first? X. So that is the charge of second. What is the mole of second? Y. That is the charge of first. So from this, using this analogy, this type of dissociation takes place. Now let us consider, at start we have 1 mole of electrolyte. Initially we have 1 mole of electrolyte AXBY. Initially we have taken. At that time, what are the moles of XA plus Y plus present? 0. YB X minus present? 0 at start. These are nothing but the initial moles. These are the initial moles of electrolyte and its ions. At equilibrium, out of 1 mole, alpha moles are dissociated. Out of 1 alpha moles dissociated. So what is the left behind? 1 minus alpha. 1 minus alpha. What are the A obtained? It is equal to alpha. What are B obtained? This is also alpha. But see over here, what we have done here, 1 mole. So multiplied by 2. Multiplied by 1. 3 moles. So multiplied by 3. 1 mole multiplied by 1. 2 moles so multiplied by 2. In the similar manner, here X moles so multiplied by X. Y moles therefore multiplied by Y. Now what are the total moles? These are the moles at equilibrium. Equilibrium moles. Out of 1 mole, whenever alpha moles undergo dissociation, X alpha and Y alpha are obtained at equilibrium. Now what are total moles? Total moles will be equal to summation of moles at equilibrium. Total moles at equilibrium is equal to 1 minus alpha, that is this one, plus X alpha plus Y alpha. Now see here this, how to solve this? It is equal to 1 plus this sign X alpha plus Y alpha, then minus alpha. If we write it like this, no matter what happen, 1 plus, this will be now X plus Y minus 1 into alpha. So this is also written as 1 plus alpha into X plus Y minus 1. If X plus Y is equal to N, how that equation will become? See, X plus Y is equal to N. Therefore, now that equation become total moles at equilibrium will be equal to 1 plus alpha. In another bracket, 1 plus alpha into another bracket N minus 1. That is the total moles. Quantum factor I is defined as a ratio of colligative property of electrolyte to the non-electrolyte. Means if this is non-electrolyte, what are the number of moles present? 1. So moles observed divided by moles theoretical. This is known as a Hendon factor. So I will equal to, what is the moles observed? 1 plus alpha n minus 1 divided by, what is the moles theoretical? 1. Because if this is non-electrolyte, what are the number of moles we have taken? 1 mole we have taken. Therefore theoretical mole is 1. And from this we can write as this one, I minus 1 divided by n minus 1 will be equal to alpha. So what we have taken? What we have done? I minus 1. This one taken on left side, I minus 1. This taken on left side, it goes at the denominator. Therefore alpha is equal to I minus 1 upon n minus 1. That is the equation which shows relation between Hendon factor I and degree of dissociation alpha. So with this we have completed the chapter of solutions. Just we have to take the problems from this chapter. Thank you.